Hello there, friends. Welcome to Fearless Chat 15, The Great Shift. It's going to take a couple minutes to get us grounded and situated here on Planet Zoom. It's great to see you again, Carrie, Lisa, Clarabelle, my gosh. Hello, Allie. Hello, Seth. Lovely to see you. Danielle Christine Toussaint is joining us as well.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Hello there, Leslie.
Hi, Eduardo.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Ruby. If you can do me a favor and in the chat, just say your name, where in the world you are, just as an opportunity to get related to each other. And again, it's going to take a couple minutes for us to get situated here. Hi, Sophie and family. Hello. Hello there, Bernadette. Hello, Brian.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you, Seth, for reminding me to put my pronouns on my... I need to do it automatically. It's a constant action to do that. So thank you for having that, and you too, Brian, for having your pronoun distinctions. And again, it's going to take us a couple seconds to get situated, a couple minutes to get situated here. Danielle not wearing purple. No, that's Danielle's sister? No, that's Danielle. Who's Ginny?
My husband.
Okay, got it. I was like, wait a second. She's wearing red today, honey. She's thinking red.
Eduardo, I wore orange for you the other day.
Yes. I don't have any orange with me in Miami. It's all in exile in New York City. So I need to go on a shopping spree. Hello there, everyone. Jihan is currently in Barbados. Welcome. You and Tiffany. Allie in Bellingham, Washington. Carrie Kirkella in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Leslie from Dallas. Clarabelle coming in live from Queens. Alejandro from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Deborah in Brooklyn. Lisa in New York. Seth is in Chicago. Again, as you're coming in and settling, an opportunity to connect, say where in the world you are. Ruby is in Brooklyn, Danielle Christine Toussaint in Rockville. Brian is just #fierce.
That was, the #fierce was for Danielle.
Got it. Although you are in Provincetown. So between Provincetown and Rehoboth, we have two gay vacation destinations represented on our call. #yes, #nailing it. #great place to be quarantining and socially distancing. If you are able to join us on video, it always helps to be able to see people's faces as they engage and participate. Natalie from Kansas City, although live in Lower East Side, New York City. Thank you, Natalie. Lori wishes that she was with Brian and Danielle. I have an acute condition called show-tunitis where I burst out into show tunes at the drop of a hat. So there have already been several prompts. Kansas City is one of them from the musical Oklahoma, where everything is up to date in Kansas City. They've gone about as far as they can go.
Right, New York.
Jody's in Santa Cruz.
Right, New York City. I like that.
Yes, Seth. Almost morning glow is almost here. Thank you, Seth, for a little show-tonitis. Yes, a little Pippin, perhaps, in our afternoon. So it is 5:05. So we are going to begin, and we're going to begin, as we always begin, with a little grounding with Deborah Driscoll, our fearless co-facilitator. So Deborah, we're going to pass it on to you.
Thank you, Eduardo. Nice to see people returning. Great to see you. Good to see all the new faces with us. Welcome to a new week of Fearless Chats. And today we're just going to find ourselves sitting with the sun. So with wherever you are, find the most comfortable position with exactly where you are. You might have to shift a little bit, or you might already be there. Just taking a deep breath in and letting it go. And just saying, well done, you. You turned up. You gave this to yourself. You now sit in community with people interested in shifting. Well done, congratulations, we're here, we're together, and now we ground in. If it's available to you, just let your eyes gently close. Take this moment to check in with your breath, with your body, and just feel the difference of just letting your eyes rest for a moment and to just be with your breath. Taking in a really big, deep breath down into the belly now. And then just letting it go when you're ready. And if inspired, let it out with a sigh and really let it go. You're all on mute. No one's going to hear you. Let it go. And now with your amazing imagination, you see above you a bright, warm, beautiful sun. The sun is the perfect temperature. It's not too hot, just nice and warm. And it's glowing down on you. And you've got just a couple of breaths now to be basking in the glow and the light of this sun, the sun that is there just for you. Feeling the warmth on your skin, and feeling the power of the sun to bring positivity and energy to your mind and to your body. And now in the warmth of this sun, we're all going to take in a big, deep breath and let the light of the sun come in and energize us. And hold it within as long as you can before your body naturally wants to release. And as you release, the warmth of the sun melts away all of the tension of the day. So we'll do that again now that you know that the sun has this amazing ability to just melt away the tension of the day, any worries, any fears, any anxieties, any tension. Breathing in deep to take in the warmth that is available to you, to positive vibes that are there, and hold them in. And when you're ready, just let the sun melt away the worry, the tension, the fear, the anxiety. Whatever's been sitting with you as Tuesday has been building up to 5 p.m. Just taking in another big deep breath now, the last one under the sun, taking in as much light and warmth as you can and releasing as much tension as is possible and allow the sun to melt it away. Returning to your natural breathing and returning to your new state of a little bit warmer and a little less tense. Welcome to Fearless Chat on Tuesday with Eduardo and Tiffany. Let's shift.
I started yazzing right away. Elevated sparkleation to Deborah Driscoll. Thank you so much for that grounding. So welcome to, for those of you who are joining us, we have this little gesture which we call elevated sparkleation, which is a way to show our celebration, our love, our encouragement. You can also self-elevated sparklate, which sometimes can be very helpful and very useful to oneself. Welcome to Fearless Chat 15. My name is Eduardo Placer. I'm the founder of Fearless Communicators. We are an inclusive and diverse public speaking coaching agency, and we work with thought leaders on what they say and how they say it. About 9 weeks ago, we found ourselves, like everyone else, facing this brave new world, and immediately knew that there was one space where we could show up to serve, and that was leaning on the expertise of our fabulous thought leaders in our community. So what we did is we resourced from within our community what were the questions that people were having, what were the conversations that were really going to make a difference. So the first one that we did was that Thursday in that first week. I was in Boulder, Colorado. I have now been exiled from New York City, where I live, over 9 weeks. I'm currently in Miami Beach for the foreseeable future. And the first conversation was about what else could we do besides washing our hands, featuring one of our fearless alumna from one of our programs. She's a naturopathic healer. We had Allison Davis talking about sales and how to sell in this climate. We had a series of brand experts talking about branding and how do we brand in this moment. Deborah had a conversation around grief and how do we deal with grief. And what emerged in this conversation was a real opportunity to showcase a series of our leaders around a series that we're calling Spark, Shift, Shit, Shine. I'm gonna say that again because it's so much fun. Spark, Shift, Shit, Shine. And we began on Thursday with Barbara Senrick, an alumna of our Fearless Force program, about what's that spark, the internal spark that we have. In this pause, there's been a lot of time for creativity to emerge. And then our second conversation is this one that we're having with Tiffany Brown, which is about shifting. And that's the opportunity to pivot is emerging as a survival mechanism for many people, for their companies. It may be a new brand, it may be a new product. It could be a whole new idea that just emerged out of necessity. So how do we start mining that? On Thursday, we have a session with Amy Noel, one of our Fearless alumna as well, on getting shit done. For those of us who may find ourselves with lots of things on our plate, how do we focus to really be in action around the things we need to be in action around in an empowered way? And then next Tuesday, we have Shine, which is now how to bring shine to all of that with Zoe Flammenbaum, one of our participants also in our Fearless Force program from Tel Aviv. So these 4 women participated in our signature program. It's called the Fearless Force Public Speaking for Visionary Women Leaders. We have several alumna on this call. If you can elevate it, sparklate, we can see those of you that are on. Yes. So we have run 19 programs in 7 cities on 3 continents. Over 100 women have participated in that program. It's an opportunity to get to the core of a message and then share that in service of an audience. And one statistic that I discovered that I'm really proud of is that 46% of those women are diverse. So that is just an extreme accomplishment that has to do with age, sexual orientation, racial identity, also ethnicity. And what a beautiful opportunity to showcase this fabulous thought leadership in this series. So it is my pleasure to introduce Tiffany Brown. There are many hats that Tiffany Brown wears, right? And she's currently in the moment of a great pivot, which is super extraordinary to just be literally in the clearinghouse of that. She is an attorney. She's also been a corporate executive. She is an advisory board for Fearless Communicators. She is a private client of Fearless Communicators. She also was a participant in our Fearless Force program. And her talk that she talked about, which was so powerful, was around not just pay equity, but pay transparency. And that is how we create that great equalizer in the workforce. And the themes that emerged in that is something that still resonates and I still speak about today. So with all of that as a context, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Tiffany Brown, Elevated Sparkle. I also want to acknowledge, so Tiffany Brown has been currently, she's quarantining and socially distancing and also exiled in Barbados. So she is dialing in from Barbados. There are no flights out of Barbados until July or something like that. So she is in Barbados. And I'm gonna acknowledge that because we have a little bit of Caribbean Wi-Fi. So we're just gonna acknowledge that it may go in, there may be things, but we're just gonna listen through whatever is going on, listening for the message, listening intensely with lots of love and celebration. As a Cuban American, I can honor and celebrate the Caribbean Wi-Fi situation. We can elevate it, sparkle that. And Tiffany, what a gift.
You guys are a gift. Thank you all for being here. It's so exciting to see faces of people that I know, people that I've seen in other Fearless Talks, and new faces. So thank you for holding space for this conversation. And we're going to spend a lot of this being interactive and allowing you all to sort of participate in your own pivot journeys. But I did want to take a second to just talk about mine, which took place in a moment very similar to what's happening now, at least the most significant one. I've been on 5 pivot journeys, but the most significant one took place in 2008, 2009. For those of you who were in the workforce or were just witnessing all of the sort of dramatic change that happened, I had just started working as a lawyer, and along with a number of other classmates was entering the workforce and was left completely blindsided by the changes that took place. For many people, it resulted in withdrawals of actual work offers and having to sort of navigate what they would do next. In my particular case, I stayed at the law firm, but spent about 5 years probably spinning my wheels trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, because what I had signed up for as a lawyer was not anything like what I was experiencing post-crisis. And so a lot of what I'm sharing is the results of what I experienced during that process. It was a 5-year journey from actually starting work in law to being able to shift into doing something incredibly creative, which was being a chef and then working as a nonprofit attorney before I then went back into corporate America. During that 5-year process,
so much shifting already. I love that already. We were like attorney, chef, nonprofit attorney, and then back in corporate America. So I think that I'm just curious how many people on this call can already resonate with the various jumps and things in that conversation. So we can like elevate it, sparkleish, we can like Yaz Queen, we can just like, share that. So beautiful.
Well, it didn't feel that great, which is sort of why I have spent a lot of time reflecting here, particularly for this talk, as to how I could potentially make the process a lot softer and more confidence-inducing for everyone here. So that's really what I'm about. What I noticed is that there was a cycle that I was on, and it so happens that the cycle follows the word pivot. There was a prompt, there was a period of introspection, there was a need to sort of validate what that change was. There were opportunities that came my way, and then there was an opportunity to take action. So that's really what I'd like to sort of share with you all. And then to the extent that sort of theory resonates with you all, allow you to sort of go on that journey as a group and identify where you might be during that process.
Beautiful. So Tiffany, I'm curious about, that moment, because I think that the thing about 2008 too is I think many people are finding themselves like it was a great wash. Like all of a sudden, everything that was promised, everything that was planned completely and totally disappeared. So what emerged for you in that moment? Like when you noticed that you were there, what happened for you?
There was a freeing that may resonate with you guys, where I recognize that the relationship that I thought existed between an employer and an employee wasn't in place anymore. So, for example, when I was experiencing a number of layoffs at my firm, I saw people who were 2 to 3 years away from retiring, and they were being laid off. And I think that for me was a huge aha moment that this, concept of loyalty that existed within the company structure wasn't really there, and that the amount of hours that I was devoting every day into working and maintaining my job, it could be, that 10 years later, which ironically is right about now, I might not have a job. So it forced me to really evaluate sort of the concept of what that employer-employee relationship meant. And it made me really question that if I was looking for a certain amount of happiness from my work, whether or not I could really get it.
Beautiful. So do we want to move into this first phase of the work that you had talked about? Shall I share the sheet and shall we start thinking about that?
Let's do it, because it's I want to open up so that we can maybe get 4 or 5 volunteers who may want to go through their process.
So to give you a little bit of the lay of the land, we had a little chat with Tiffany before. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a little exercise at the front, and then there's going to be an opportunity for some hot seats. So for people to volunteer, and then to kind of crowdsource for those of you that are in a space of possible pivoting of some options, right? So we're going to move through the first piece of it, and then we're going to engage within the chat. And then there's this opportunity that we'll have at the end to kind of crowdsource some options, which will be really fun. Okay. So I'm going to share this PDF. You're going to receive this in an email afterwards. So don't feel like you have to go run and print it. So I'll share the PDF, and then if you have like notes to take on the side, we can also activate the chat to use. We can do that, and don't worry, you're gonna get a PDF of it after this is over. I wanna acknowledge Danielle Christine Toussaint, honey, you were on fire. Like you were captured, you're like, I hear you, Tiffany. I'm gonna put that pivot in the chat. I'm gonna put that down. I was like, yes, you get that, Danielle. I was like, oh, let me write that. I was like, Danielle's got it. She is looking out for Tiffany Brown is what she's doing. Okay, great. So I'm gonna share this sheet now. Give me 1 second.
And then I'll also start off by saying that the important part of the pivot journey for me when I was making a shift was identifying where it was that I wanted to go next. And so as simple as that sounds, it was incredibly frustrating, really, to sort of be at a point where I had invested quite a lot of time and money into a degree that I wasn't fully aware if I was going to be able to use, and being asked, what was going to be next. And
I want to double click on that, Tiffany, because this is a conversation that we've had in the past too. I've actually been in conversations with another friend of mine. He's a doctor, right? So I think similarly on the investment phase, he's just finished medical school. He's like in his first year of practice. And I think in the realization that practicing medicine in the way that he thought he was going to practice it isn't what he's called to do. And I think there's a part of him I think there's someone else on this call who was also a chef too, besides you. So he's a chef, you know, I think he wants to do stuff around events and around food, right? And he has hundreds of thousands of dollars of loans that he has to pay, right?
Yes.
So I think that there's a reality too, that it's not just like, one of the things we also talk, it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna leave everything and go to Argentina and start tango dancing. Like, that's actually not the reality. It takes a certain level of privilege to like be able to, to make that leap. So there is a context of actually really getting familiar with what's actually present now so that you can really be strategic about how you move.
Absolutely. And so for me, it was exactly that point which made me really think about how I could make the pivot work for me. So a lot of the books that I read, there were sort of these suggestions that I just sort of drop everything and, you know, take off for the 4-hour work week, which was incredibly liberating. But in many ways, it just didn't match the reality of my situation. Like, I was paying $1,200 a week in loans. I also had, you know, responsibility, really, I felt, to the family that had supported me. You know, my own parents' sacrifice of sending me to schools with the expectation that I would be the one member of the family who had a professional degree. So I think that I needed something that was a very realistic idea of what that shift could be, that allowed me to put my foot into another area, but I didn't have to give up entirely the profession that I had invested in.
I think that's really real, Tiffany. Like, I just want to acknowledge, like, I saw some people nodding their heads, you know, at the truth of that, you know, and I just think it's, unfortunately, just that truth is not something that I hear very often. Like, it's like, oh, the easy fix is just like, give everything up and then just move to Argentina and teach tango. Do you know what I mean? But like, I think that the responsibility of, oh, right, and you can also default on your loans and leave your family stranded if you're the person who's responsible for that. So I just love that context, I feel like, is already grounded in a little bit of gravity, which I appreciate. So what we have is this prompt, right? And this is just the half of the sheet. There's a whole second half of the sheet, which I'm hiding for later, ladies and gentlemen. So da-da-da-zow, kidda-da-boo. So if you just want to walk us through that, then people can actually put that in the chat and we can start sharing what is emerging there.
Okay, so what a revelation was for me about this discussion is that for many of us who are either thinking about transitioning, you know, we don't necessarily have the confirmation, maybe the personal confirmation that we have the ability to dream. And so I wanted to sort of use our time together to really put a stake in the ground with regards to where you want to go. Because if you know, it's often said that if you don't know where you want to go, any road will take you there. So my thought is, with the first stage of pivoting, you really need to just, you know, even if it's just for fun, come up with an idea of where you want to go next. And then there's a lot of interesting journeys that happen in between, a series of other sort of pivots that you might find yourself on. But the real question to ask yourself is, where do you want to go? And so
I'm curious if you can share a little about the space where you were prompted with that question. So you were in a specific location where that question was asked for you.
We are traveling through an unprecedented time. We are uncertain.
Oh.
What is that? That was like
of the history.
Oh. Oh. Don't know what that is. Okay.
All right.
Thank you for that message that's being downloaded from the universe. I'll receive that. Yeah, thank you universe for communicating whatever you just communicated to us. We'll go back, we'll make sure to hashtag that for everyone afterwards.
So yeah, the prompt that happened is that I was in a circle similar to where all of us are now. It was an empowerment group of women. It was a goddess gathering. And there were about 15 of us who were in a circle together. And this was 2 years after I started practicing as a lawyer, with the realization of everything that was happening in the world and with the financial crisis. And we received one prompt, which was the question of, if money were no object, what would you do? If there was no, concern with regards to financial consequences, what would be the choice that you would make for your career? And so as we went around the room, there were all of these individuals. We were in Los Angeles, so a lot of people with entertainment ambitions, writers, really exciting things. And I couldn't think of anything. Like, I was the last person to go around the room. I couldn't think of anything. And I remember feeling incredibly sad and, just kind of pathetic. It was just like, how is it that I've gone all these years in life and I just stopped somehow dreaming about what could potentially be next? And they came to me and I had nothing down on my paper. And then someone just said, just think of anything. Like, what's the first thing that comes to your head? And I just paused and said, I would open a green cafe. I have no idea where that came from. I wasn't at all actively, cooking. I really didn't even know how to cook. And I wasn't a vegan or vegetarian, so I really don't have any idea where that came from. But that was just what I threw out there in the circle. The thing that was really crazy was less than 3 years after casting that wish, I started working for the Top Chef Tom Colicchio, and I also did open a green cafe in sorts as a silent sort of partner and supporter of the plant-based restaurant that called By Chloe, by Chef Chloe Coscarelli. So I just wanted to bring that to where we are now in this circle. Like, just as daunting as it may feel with regards to what the future looks like, my hope is just, in the next half hour that we get enough sort of support and inspiration from each other that we just start dreaming again. And, as far out as you want to go, like, just present it to the empowerment group and let's see what happens.
I love it. So Tiffany, I just want to acknowledge in the chat, Bernadette just wrote, Tiffany, what you're saying is so true for Black women lawyers, especially in LA where I lived in the 1990s. So just seeing how that is already resonating. And she was an attorney and also a chef. So that's the woman that I was also mentioning. And yes, to goddess goodness and spontaneous dreams. So what we're going to do is we're going to take just a couple minutes, and the invitation is really to use this prompt, right, for each of you to first, if you want to write it on a sheet of paper, to put, hello, my name is blank. My professional identity is blank. So is that question like what they do for a living, like what their job is?
Yes, or what people, for some people, they may not be, currently working, but just how you identify or how the world knows you.
Knows you. Okay, great. And then my superpower or inner, oh, that's so yummy. My superpower or inner magic is blank. Okay, I love anytime we have to think about superpowers and inner magic. And then my wish is to do or to become blank, right? So Tiffany, if we were to use the example of you at that goddess circle, how would you phrase that?
So my identity, which was now 8 or 9 years ago since I was in that session, my professional identity is a lawyer. My superpower, inner magic, which no one ever asked, but which is something that still holds true today, is I love building community. I love bringing people together. And I often did find myself hosting events. I just wasn't cooking for it. My wish is to do or to become, I wanted to be, I wanted to have a community space, and I wanted it to be around, vegan cooking. So it was that. I just wanted to hold the space for healthy eating.
And if you were to go through this exercise now, as people are going through this exercise themselves, and we're going to invite you to share it in the chat, please, if you feel so compelled. What would you say is this journey for yourself right now? What would you say?
I would say that, one of the beauties of the pivot model, and from what I'm learning about pivot, is that I don't have to change my professional identity. So I'm still a lawyer. My professional identity is I'm a lawyer, a business executive. My superpower or inner magic is definitely to make the impossible possible. My wish to do or to become at this phase in my life is to really, from a professional standpoint, is to lead a company, to run a company.
Yes.
That's the pivot.
Okay, great. So the invitation is for people to, in the chat, go through the prompts and share them. So Allison, she says, it feels really good to hear you validate that you could be successful and pivot into something that you didn't know a lot beforehand. I think my fear is that it needs to be something I already have knowledge or experience with. Allison, I think this conversation is like perfect for where you're at. Like, first of all, I acknowledge you for sharing that and naming that fear. I think that's something that a lot of people feel. And I think it's great. This is the perfect conversation for you to be in. So Seth, my name is Seth V. My professional identity is Chief of Staff. My inner magic is engaging others, podcasting. And my wish is to become a successful tarot business owner who lifts the queer community one relationship at a time. Yes! Oh my God, Seth, I think all the witches on this call were just like, full moon Scorpio, 3 planets retrograde, get in touch with Seth right away. Nita just wrote, my superpower is definitely to make the impossible possible. Tiffany Brown, drop the mic, yes. Okay, so we're gonna go with Bernadette. My name is Bernadette Beekman. My identity is lawyer connector. My superpower is networking and convincing the unconvincible. That's yummy. My wish is to be myself and get paid. That is clear, honey. Bring some green, honey. That is a yas queen. Yas. Danielle Christine Toussaint. Hello, my name is Danielle Christine Toussaint. My professional identity is social entrepreneur, founder of She Thinks Purple. My superpower is helping leaders tell inspiring stories to connect with people and change the world. My wish is to become an influencer with a platform and resources to amplify the stories of other mission-driven leaders. Beautiful. April. My name is April Hamilton. My professional identity is founder coach. My superpower or inner magic is creating calm out of chaos. My wish is to continue to help people transform their organizations as leaders in their companies and lives. Beautiful. Allie. Oh my God, they're coming in strong here. My name is Allie. I'm a singer, dental hygienist, soon to be licensed large animal massage therapist. Yes, that's so good. My inner magic is intuitive healing, and my wish is to become a shamanic curandera. Yes, extraordinary. Alejandro, my name is Alejandro Fernandez, lawyer. Break big problems into little ones, then approach. My wish is to connect with my brother to build something that we can be proud of. I love that. That's so beautiful, Alejandro. Jody, do you want to alternate this with, can you read the chats, Tiffany?
I can. I actually wanted to kind of make sure that we save space to do the validation.
Yes. Yes. I'm just going to do a couple more here. So we have Jody.
Okay.
My name is Jody. My professional identity is psychotherapist and executive coach. My superpower is inspiring others to form human connections and building community. My wish is to find a place to be an influencer. Beautiful. Is it Jihan or Jihan?
Jihan.
Jihan. My name is Jihan. I'm a freelance conference interpreter. My superpower is my enthusiasm and my determination. My wish is to be a bridge between Western and Caribbean cultures by organizing cultural trips in Barbados. Sign me up. Yes. Clarabelle. Professional identity, regional sales manager in skincare industry. Superpower is helping people get out of their own way. My wish is to be a transformation expert, helping to be a catalyst for positive change. Beautiful. Yes, Clarabelle. Yes. So first of all, like, I love that there's something tender sometimes in coming out with these things. Sometimes we hold these a little tight and dear, and it feels like, oh my God, do I give voice to that? Do I not give voice to that? So for some of you who've been, you know, kind of muddling through or thinking or dreaming, like, what a beautiful opportunity to just like speak it out loud. So now we're gonna move to, and please keep up the stuff in the chat. Yes.
Mhm.
And we're gonna do some, were you gonna say, Tiffany?
I was just going to say we had one last one with Julie. Julie came in. My identity is interior designer. My superpower is creative collaboration and getting others excited about out-of-the-box ideas. My wish is to design more meaningful spaces, particularly when it comes to wellness and healthcare experiences.
I love that. And I love, and what I already, like, I'm a kind of, my mind thinks in terms of connecting and pivots anyway. I'm a dancer, pivot, step, walk, walk, walk. You know, so I think that there's a way in which, like, I love the starting to see the possibilities. It's sometimes we're like, I don't know how I'm gonna get from here to here. And like, it is possible. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. How do I get from, you know, from Norma Desmond, you know, or from Gloria Swanson to Kevin Bacon? You can probably do it in 2 leaps, you know, but you can't do it alone. You need Google. Okay, so we have amazing things that are happening there. And I wanna make sure, as you're reading that, and my invitation is to look at the chat, if you find people in here who you immediately connect with, reach out to them. Like, the beautiful thing about the chat, we all know with the private chat function, right? Like, connect with people. This is a beautiful space to start seeing how you can start giving wind to each other's wings. Look at me doing a little bit Midler, you know, in this moment, you know, giving some life. And what we're gonna do is we wanna make sure that we have some room for this pivot conversation, right? So I love your diagram, by the way, hashtag no big deal. Now we're gonna move it up, and we're gonna look at this piece, right? And again, you're all gonna get the handout, so we can all be patient about that. And you're just gonna walk us through this, and then we're gonna move into the validation piece, right?
Yes. So the interesting thing about this diagram is it was inspired during a conversation I had with Eduardo this weekend, but it's also based on a chart that I got from my last employer on consumer behavior. So I worked at a media company which does all the data analytics with regards to how people spend. And you know, the selling, this big sell from the company that I was with is that they could actually predict human behavior. And so they would tell companies, you know, we can tell you how people are going to spend, therefore, you know, hire us and we can bring you more clients. And I started thinking about the way in which we go through our own sort of career journeys through the lens of predictable behavior. And so that is how this diagram came to be. And it begins at the top left with a prompt. So the cycle from my experience over the past 20 years is really initiated with my experience something, either in my particular case, you know, it was an economic push with the financial crisis of introspection. That introspection for me was really evaluating, you know, am I planning to give up this career that I spent $120,000 on and I still have to pay off? Like, what's at stake here? And then even reflecting on how I even got myself into that position to begin with. You know, no one in my family was a lawyer, so why exactly did I decide to become a lawyer? So introspection for me looks a lot like acknowledging the fact that, you know, when I first started college, my parents had entered bankruptcy, their home had been foreclosed, and, you know, I didn't have a home to go back to when I went away to college. And so the only thing I thought about was, when I choose a career, I need something stable and I need something that's gonna make sure that I have a roof over my head. And so I took some time. That introspection period took maybe 2 years for me to really get into why I was changing. And then I went through a period where I really needed to validate, what a change could look like. And so a lot of people look at my change from when I was a lawyer to when I sort of entered into doing food advocacy work. And part of that was also being a chef, and just thought that I had, just did this, free falling leap. But I had actually been in a series of classes with regards to cooking, healthy eating for over a course of a year. And then the year before I left my job as a lawyer, I was already enrolled at that time in culinary school. So there was a lot of things that were happening in the background. And what the validation period gave me was this idea that I could have another identity that wasn't connected to being a lawyer, that I could be creative at something. That's really what I loved about doing culinary work, is that I really was an artist. And then the opportunity period came. And that's where I really had to think about, who is really going to hire a lawyer to, at the time, it was just, do any type of social impact work. And I just started really doing research. And the thing about this period, which is one of the reasons I'd love for us to talk about it with everyone, is that I didn't seek any outside guidance. I actually didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell a soul at my law firm that I was in culinary school, because I knew that they would be fearful for me, and it would cause me to want to either change directions or think before I left. So for 11 months, I didn't tell anybody. Nobody even knew that I was doing this on the side. And then the opportunity to take action. So the biggest thing that I recognized is that if this transition, this pivot that I was about to embark on to do sort of food advocacy work, if all of that failed, I knew that I could get a job at a minimum as a short order cook. So that was something that I had in the back of my mind. I was also a very active volunteer, which is something I really want to promote to members in this group, is that don't be afraid to be a professional volunteer. I was, at the time, a 36-year-old intern for Chef Chloe of the By Chloe empire. I was her intern. I was helping her, test recipes at home. None of that required me to, spend any additional outside time. And then when it came time to make the pivot, I was ready. And to be completely honest with you all, like, work had dried up so much within my law firm that I needed to leave. I knew that someone asked me the other day if I had ever been fired. No, I haven't, but I have come very close to being it. And I always leave at the opportune time before that question about layoffs happens. And I do believe it has a lot to do with the fact that I have gone through a cycle very much like what you all are seeing on the screen, which allowed me to be able to walk away comfortably. And so, I fully want to acknowledge that, not everyone, has had a chance to sort of go through this full wheel. Like, there are times when a prompt comes and you're immediately pushed into having to take action or having to pivot because, your employer has just downsized. I understand that. I think the opportunity that exists with having a structure like this is that you can be prepared and start doing things before you reach a point where you are forced to take action.
I love this, Tiffany. And Sophie, who's also an attorney, she's an amazing divorce attorney in New York City. She just wrote, I love the idea of spending time with diverse people. Lawyers spend too much time with lawyers, which I think is, I love that. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen right now, right, Tiffany? And what we're gonna do is, there were some people who are now joining. I didn't see that people were joining the call. Okay, so they're going to join here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an opportunity for people to share where they are and where they're going. And as a validator, like create a space for people to share ideas of possible pivots, right? That can get them to whatever that is. So would anyone like to, this is like a great opportunity to just like raise your hand and jump in. So who would like to raise their hand and be the first person to kind of crowdsource opportunities for pivoting? Clarabelle, yes, elevated sparklation for you, Clarabelle. Lots of bravery there. Yes.
Thank you.
So Clarabelle, why don't you just give us a little bit of the lay of the land, and then let's see how we can support you.
Got it. Thank you so much for this platform. So as I stated before, I've been a regional sales manager. And with that, there is essentially a little bit of coaching or trying to support the team to achieve an overall goal, especially with retail taking the turn that it has. And my passion for helping people to get unstuck has really, I've been doing landmark work for, I think, like 1.5 to 2 years. And it's something that I gladly give my time to. So I'll do it for free no matter what, to be able to be there for community. So I thought, why not be able to sort of get paid? But I have no experience other than that sort of coaching. So I didn't know whether or not I should get like a certification, because most of the time do people look at certifications? Yep. So
Clarabelle, point one is you're a regional sales manager in skincare, and where do you want to go? If you were to, right, Tiffany, what would the prompt be?
Yes, where is it, if you could do anything, where is it that you?
If I could do anything, I would be a business coach or strategy coach.
Great, awesome. Okay, so regional sales manager, sales to strategy coach. Okay, great. So Tiffany, what do we do?
Ooh. So I love this because, well, could you tell me your inner magic just so I can have it?
So I really love to help people. I want to help people in whatever way that I can.
Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is that there is this really great organization called General Assembly that allows people to do a lot of what we're kind of doing now, which is create, you all are doing for me, a validation that what I'm offering people are actually interested in. And so they have guest speakers in specialty areas that will come and even are able to charge a fee. And they have a very large network within New York as well as Los Angeles and a few other cities. And I'm sure a lot of it's being done online, but it allows practitioners in a particular area to just test out what they're doing. So I feel sales is an area that will always be in demand, and that maybe before making a full shift to doing leadership coaching outside of the area of sales, maybe you could start within the area of sales doing leadership coaching.
And what I would love also is Lisa just wrote, I would suggest IPEC, it's an excellent coaching program. So one opportunity would be to invest in a coaching program. So so knowing that she wants to go from a role in sales manager, what are some other pivots that she can take, some other actions that she can take to get her there? So I'm just curious, experience here from all the people who are there, any ideas? Let's dump them in the chat, and then we'll just read them off, and then we'll move into Carrie Kirkella, who's next. So Brian, I know one of the IPEC trainers, happy to make an introduction. So actually going to spaces and validating and sharing what you want to do creates an opportunity for people to create connection. So that's another great opportunity. Clarabelle, this is an obvious one, but keep coming to our fearless chats. Like that's another great pivot in that you're connecting with people, you're connecting with with other thought leaders. You may make connections. You may find someone who can mentor you. Danielle Christine just wrote, I would suggest other communities where you can test out your coaching approaches. Elevate Network. Tide Risers is another one for women business owners that Danielle can introduce you to. April, coach within your organization to try coaching a client. That's awesome. Like to focus, like thinking of leadership specifically within people who are sales coaches, people who are in sales, like coaching leadership for sales people is a great place because those are your people. Jody, to clarify, mentor others as a skill to build up to coaching. Great, taking people on, validating, taking on test clients, just testing people out, mentoring them, that's beautiful. Danielle, start interviewing your ideal clients. So Clarabelle, there's a wealth of resources that are here. I love it. Begin practicing in real life with people in your network that you trust. They can benefit from your coaching, you get benefit of the feedback, and they can give you testimonials. Yes, which is also really useful, right? Also building a landing page, simple landing page website that identifies you as that, right? Changing your LinkedIn profile, you know, adding coach to that just starts giving you the verbalization and the commitment to that as identity. So elevate sparkulation to you, Clarabelle. Lots of great stuff that's there. Carrie Kirkella, honey, you're next.
Hi. Okay. So my name is Carrie, and I'm a photographer. I've been focusing more on advertising photography in the past, but more recently I've been focusing more or trying to change gears into doing more work with entrepreneurs, purpose-driven kind of businesses, organizations, and entrepreneurs. But my superpower is connecting with people on a deep level and resiliency, those two things. So empathy and resiliency are my superpowers. And I put in there in the chat that my wish, so I've had this idea for a while to do therapeutic photography workshops, helping people heal from something to do with mental health. Like I've had a lot of experience with postpartum stuff. So that was kind of my first, thought to do it that way. But I feel like, you're supposed to kind of focus on one thing, and I kind of didn't get a chance to focus on the purpose-driven entrepreneur, just rebranding my website for all of that before the COVID-19 virus happened. So it just feels like, how can I do both of those things at the same time? This new healing workshop endeavor, and can I do both of them at the same time? That's kind of my question.
Yeah, I can start out. I'm like feeling so much power from this already. What you're offering is just beautiful.
Oh,
and
you.
There's a social driven opportunity within, even within the photography work that you're doing, particularly in the area of healing. So I guess I'll preface it by saying, when I start with pivots, I look at sort of the shortest distance to get to your next step from where you currently are now. And so I would just think about just the beautiful photography that can come from people who are experiencing healing from, trauma, from accidents, and perhaps there's an opportunity to do some volunteer photography.
Well, I've been doing that too. For just as a side note, another project I've been working on, breast cancer survivors, because my sister passed from breast cancer 7 years ago. So I've done a lot of volunteer work, and it's I'm not exactly in a position to be doing volunteer work. So I kind of have to think about, where I put my time. And also I have a 2-year-old son, so I have very little time.
And so you'd like to get paid to do what element of work now? Like when you switch,
Well, so I branding photography for purpose-driven entrepreneurs, organizations, nonprofits, but I also want to get, paid something to do these healing, therapeutic workshops, which is kind of I'm not exactly a teacher either. So that's a whole other animal. So it's I want to guide people to create their own photos to help them process some sort of trauma. And it's very new for me.
Beautiful. What I also hear is your heart speaking, right? I feel like there's like what the soul is calling forth, what the heart is calling forth, and what sometimes what the brain and the mind are calling forth. And I get that you need to put food on the table. Like that's a practical, that's definite. And there's also like your soul is speaking this. And we have a saying in Fearless Communicators that the story is hunting its storyteller. There's a story that's hunting you now, right? And trusting that there's energy there, right? So I just want to share that even in your sharing already, Carrie, people have been posting, right? Have you done a survey of your clients to help uncover what they have felt they needed healing around? That could be a great place to start, right? There are lots of groups that deal with grieving and the death of infants, and a lot of people who wish to have photos of their deceased children with their parents. You know, I think that there are also nonprofits and organizations that deal with people who are trauma, that have trauma, that will have a budget to hire a professional photographer who could also possibly photograph their subjects, right? I think we are in a COVID context right now, so I think that there's a way around the photography piece that like being close to people and photographing them may be interesting, and there's probably a hack around that. Ruby says maybe you could work with school guidance counselors for the students who experience trauma. Jody, maybe network with therapists to offer an adjunct healing opportunity, right?
Yeah.
As a therapist, I'm often looking for other resources for clients beyond the therapy relationship. I know there's a woman who's one of our clients. Her name is Maisa Akbar. She's going to be one of our fearless speakers later on the month. An amazing woman. She was abandoned by both of her parents when she was 13 in New York City, and now runs a whole program on urban trauma at Yale. So she's written books about urban trauma. They're thought leaders around urban trauma, right? And I think something that Danielle wrote was that, you know, as someone who's in branding and certain, a lot of people have trauma around their bodies, around headshots. So like doing professional headshots that are not just professional, but also healing, I think could be something that people would be like, oh, I want that.
I'm actually partnering with a coach to do like an empowerment kind of workshop where I'm going to do, you know, empowering portraits as well.
Beautiful. Awesome.
But I feel like it's all a little bit all over the place. Like, but yeah.
Oh, I love it. I think you have all the ingredients there, and maybe the pivot wheel can help you sort of decipher where you are in the process.
Thank you.
Okay. And Carrie, the beautiful thing is that you're in service, right? So you are, and you're continuously iterating. And I think part of the validation process is seeing where is the energy, like where is the energy, like trusting that people around you will be validating, yes, we want that. Yes, we want that. We want more of that, and continuing to speak into like what community and people are listening for and wanting. Okay?
Right. Thank
Beautiful. You. Okay, great. Awesome. So ladies and gentlemen, we are at 6 o'clock. So this completes our Fearless Chat 15 with Tiffany Brown. Any final things that you want to share, Tiffany Brown?
I just want to thank all of you for making space for each other. And I know there are a lot of conversations bubbling up. So I would love to sort of offer myself to do follow-ups, even if it's another group session or just one-on-one, just so that everyone can have a chance to sort of go through this. My goal through this is to really put to paper sort of what this process is, so it can be sort of a guidebook for others who are going through this process. And I'd love to just get information from you with regards to whether or not this sort of pivot wheel, the pivot journey resonates, and what your own journey with career shifting has been.
And how do they reach out to you? What's your email address so we can put it in the link below, just so people can reach out to you?
It's my initials, TRB, Tiffany Rashada Brown. So TRB239 @gmail.com.
Okay, great. And so Tiffany is writing a book on this, and I think this is a great opportunity to like possibly end up in the book as a source little story on the various ways that you are individually pivoting. So I think that's a beautiful offer, Tiffany. And I think, again, you have so much experience, so much life experience, such generosity that it'd be beautiful to create that space, and super generous of you to make the time for people to hold space for their pivot. I wanted to also just share that, again, we're in step number 2 of our series on Spark, Shift, Shit, Shine. On Thursday, we have Amy Noel. Amy Noel is an executive in human resources for a tech company. She also runs the largest BNI group, which is a networking group in New York City with over 80 members. They have over 100 members at their meeting. She also runs a nonprofit called Lend a Hand Uganda that gives food to kids in Ugandan villages at their schools. She's like the queen of getting shit done. She is like a machine at getting shit done, and does it from a place that's really heart-centered and really empowering and really powerful. So she's gonna walk us through this methodology that she has on Thursday. So if any of you are sometimes, I have so many options, there's so many things that are going on, I can't seem to get the things done that I need to get done. She has an amazing structure for that. So that's gonna be on Thursday. If you're not able to make it to our calls, sign up and register. We record all of them and then we upload them to YouTube. So, if you register for the call, then I send you the replay. So that's that one. And then on the following Tuesday is Shine with Zoe Flammenbaum. And I believe after that, we have Danielle Christine Toussaint. Is that true? Oh my, Danielle Christine Toussaint on the call. Yes, who runs She Thinks Purple, an amazing storytelling branding company that we've had the privilege to work with and collaborate with. So Danielle, we're just so excited to be having you on Thursday. And this was, initially she was gonna be featured earlier, and then personal circumstances shifted. So now we're just grateful to have you back and sharing with us next week. And then we're gonna be moving into mental health. So we're gonna be moving into mental health and mindfulness and also spiritual well-being. So that'll be the next series that we're going to be going into after that. We are so grateful that you are here. If this was your first time on our call, feel free to text us at 66866. So again, it's 66866, and you're going to text fearless now. The F is capitalized, the N is capitalized. Deborah, if you can put that in the link down there. And then we have a special gift, which is, we call it 10 simple backstage tips to go from a speaker to a star. We get to be Jiminy Cricket, on your shoulder when you wish upon a star, empowering you so you show up powerful anytime that you're in communication. Because get it, there's no such thing as private speaking. All speaking is public speaking. With that, thank you so much for being on this call with us. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep the space open. We have the call is officially closed. We're going to keep the space open. We have a little ritual that we do to complete our call. If you'd like to stay on for that, you're welcome to. If not, thank you so much for being here. And we will see you on the other side on Thursday. Okay? So we're just going to, so bye, those of you who are leaving, those of you who are able to stay on for just a couple more minutes, we just have a little thing to end. If you're curious about what that would be like, then you're welcome to stay. Okay, cool. So our ritual here that we have, we can